And it's a line drive to
Key lime margarita?
Yeah. What are you doing?
Just watch.
Whoa.
Hi.
Go for it.
Thanks.
What about me?
Got you covered. Hey!
Whoa.
Hey!
Hey.
Hey.
Lefty O'Doul's drink mixes at these fine stores.
What are you doing?
I'm getting the girl back.
With a live audience at the Gold Dust Lounge in Fisherman's Wharf, it's the Will and Willie Show, brought to you by Lefty O'Doul's Drink Mixes, your bartender in a bottle. I'm Paul Wells.
I'm Will Durst.
I'm Willie Brown.
And our audience is filing in as we get ready for the fourth and final segment, and we have a Q&A of Willie.
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
He's cracking me up. Hi.
We have our first question. State your name and where you're from.
My name is Judith Davis. I'm from Noe Valley.
In San Francisco. Go ahead.
From where?
Get close to the microphone.
Noe Valley.
Noe Valley. Yes.
And Paul said I could have two questions, so I
Oh.
will.
Very
One-
generous.
One is, what do you think about Martin's Beach? And the other question is, what do you think about Airbnb?
Airbnb?
Yep.
Martin's Beach, I think the state of California, I think all the beaches should be open to the public. But on a note of fact that I'm not quite cognizant of this whole thing, Willie says that the Spanish land grant supersedes the California Constitution because it precedes it, right?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, the legal issue ultimately is going to be determined by the courts. But I think this little piece of land was never part of the state of California. It was a separate nation, so to speak, and therefore the state of California can't regulate a separate nation. It's kind of like an Indian tribal ground
reservation,
without
yeah.
being a tribal ground. And unfortunately, the state has not been as wise as it should have been. I'm told that some years ago, when the original family that had and owned it said, we'd like to sell it to you, the state of California said, we can't afford it. We don't want to buy it. And it was cheap at that time, and the family wanted to get rid of it. You know, they were charging $5 to use it. They really were. They were charging like $5 to use it, and unfortunately, the state of California didn't buy it. State of California and local government's been that way year in and year out. I've always maintained that you could reduce taxes substantially if units of government would understand how important it is for government to be in business. Just think about it, Will. Instead of letting private sector people make money from the use of land and space, the state and the city had jumped in and operated. You could get to the point where you wouldn't have to tax anybody. You would be doing, every parking lot in San Francisco should be owned by the city and county of San Francisco, and you could fund Muni.
Right.
100%. Muni could be free. Muni could be like riding the elevator at the Bank of America. I go to the Bank of America, they don't charge me anything for riding the elevator. But if the elevator was on the streets, I'd have to pay to ride the elevator. It seems to me we have made tragic mistakes because we've not had people hold an office who are totally and completely entrepreneurial from the public standpoint. We have a lot of people who are entrepreneurial from their own pocket, but not entrepreneurial from the public standpoint. And this is one of those situations.
Well, that is also mitigated by the fact that a lot of times the people who are making the money don't want the government to get into their business, and they will pay certain friendly legislators, and they will help get those friendly legislators elected, or get friendly citizens who aren't legislators yet, get them elected. It's the same reason that the Koch brothers are funding all these people to become elected because they're friendly with them and their interest, which is lowering taxes on rich people and burdening the others. of us.
Absolutely. For an example, Will, I would, in government, we ought to own the Gold Dust Lounge. Why not?
Why not?
Government
You
should
could have
own
bought
Gold
it
Dust
cheap.
Lounge. That's right. Could have gotten it for almost nothing. Particularly if we wouldn't give a permit to put a damn escalator where it used to be. I mean, we have some leverage. We can do some interesting things with it. And then on Airbnb, you know what Airbnb is? That's where I can rent out my couch.
Yeah,
Or a
but
spare bedroom.
but
Well,
what
I don't have a
about
bedroom. I don't have a spare bedroom, but
What
I
a-
got a spare couch.
what about the people in the neighborhood or in your apartment house who don't want to live next to a hotel? They don't want people coming in, strange people every day. What about them? Don't they have rights?
They do have rights, and that's what the fight is all about. All across the world, however, Airbnb is really doing great business. It's a good investment. It's working. And by the way,
It's a
people-
hotel that doesn't have to pay the right to be a hotel.
And there are people now who are talking about renting their cars.
It's to sleep
Seriously,
in.
yeah. All of a sudden, the car companies, all the car companies are raising hell.
Oh, I thought you meant to
Enterprise
sleep
and-
in like
yeah,
like
yeah.
Airbnb.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. I'm going away. I lease you my car. Well, I have a car that I haven't driven in several years. And I've been trying to figure out what to do with the damn car.
Oh, give it
I
to
paid
me.
too much
I'll take it.
for
Yeah,
I
yeah.
paid too much for the car.
Yeah, and insurance.
To give it up. Well, now
We have someone willing to take your car.
Airbnb.
Yeah, volunteers are getting in line to get Willie's old car. We have another question,
I'll give you
sir.
$30 a day for it.
Come up to the microphone, say who you are, where you from.
All right. I am Roderick Crook, Barry resident, East Oakland. My question is, I've always been inspired by your work, Mr. Brown, but the question is, how do you feel about current racism as far as Mr. Sterling, as far as the racism that you face to face, and as far as the steel curtain type of racism that goes on now today, and what advice would you give someone that may be going through something like that today?
Did you hear his question, Will?
Yeah, what do you think of the current racism going on with the Sterling issue? And I would throw Clive and Bundy in there too.
Well, I don't think it's any different from what it's been for the last 100 years, period. I think it is just being revealed that there are issues in the minds of people and conduct and what have you. You got to understand, let's take the Sterling example. Sterling bought that team in 1981. He paid $12.5 million for that team. Sterling was exactly in 81 what he is today. The owners agreed
Only 33
to
years.
encourage him to participate. And from 81 to the present day, they have tolerated his conduct. And you know that it was not original what he said.
No.
He has been saying those things, and probably several other owners in the same room have been saying those things. Racism in this country is only apparently rejected when it becomes exposed. It's long as it isn't exposed, it's tolerated. And so poor Mr. Sterling is the victim of overexposure.
Rampant overexposure. And it was
Very
funny
much so.
because it happened the same time as Clive and Bundy, and you guys may know Clive and Bundy. He's a Nevada rancher who thought that he has the right to graze his cattle on federal lands without paying the
On
fees.
public land. He didn't realize.
Public
It
land.
was this open land, and
But
they should be able to eat what grows out there on open land.
But he
and no
knows
other-
it's government land, and the government's charging like 1/10 of the market value for feeding. And he was this huge guy, and people loved him. And then he started talking about race, and people were, whoa, where's this guy from? The 1400s? And so they kind of pulled back, but he still, and then Sterling happened like a week later, and it was just a bad week for old white guys.
Yeah, and then
Just a bad week.
a very bad week for
Yeah.
white guys. And I got to tell you that I think that Jamie Foxx is on his way to Nevada.
He's gonna take on Clive and Buddy.
Django Unchained.
Now,
Django.
we've talked on the Will and Willie show in the past about the racism involved in the overt or covert opposition to President Obama. Recently, I heard a host on one of our affiliate radio stations for our show having a guest on who was going on and on about having an entire trail of things that Obama was doing behind Mrs. Obama's back and how this was all going to come out. And it sounded just like
really?
a racist rant and just a typical.
She
type of-
runs that house. Are you kidding me?
You mean he knows
while
somebody that has a
in
blue
office-
dress?
While in office, that the Secret Service has been covering up for him, and then some of the Secret Service have given Michelle
Testimony.
Obama's Secret Service guys the information to tell her.
I got to tell you that,
I
Obama
Where does that
sounds-
come from?
I don't believe it.
The president sounds like a very dull guy in every way. I can't imagine him being able to close on anything.
You saw the picture at Mandela's funeral where they were taking selfies.
Right, and the
and
woman.
the Danish prime minister, a beautiful looking woman, and Obama was flirting with her. And then you saw the series of stills, and the fourth still, suddenly Michelle Obama, who was on his left, is now on his right, between him and the Danish prime minister. It was hysterical because of the look she was giving him, and then suddenly she's in the middle and he's over there. He was chastened. He had been chastised.
He really,
I don't
he's very, very obedient.
He would, yes. He would not risk the wrath of that lady.
If you recall the history of the two of them, she hired him.
Oh, really?
That's how they met. He went for an interview in the law firm where she was doing the hiring. So she hired him. And she can fire him.
She still writes his paycheck.
Fully aware of that, that employment relationship. So I don't think that there's anything to what you say. I
Doesn't
just can't
sound
imagine.
feasible at all.
No. Don't worry about that. He is going to quietly finish out his last 2 years.
Very quietly.
Yeah, very quietly. And
He's not just a lame
think-
duck. He's a quadriplegic platypus at this point.
While we have about 3 minutes left in the show.
I think he is-
Before we leave,
Yes.
I would just like to let this audience know and the radio audience know that we are honored to be part of a crew that involves you, Paul Wells, who have been nominated to the Bay Area Radio Hall of Fame.
Oh, well, thank you.
Obviously, you're not going to get in because you're
Paul
alive,
Wells
and
in
they only vote in
parentheses
dead people. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm nominated, and people can vote on the Bay Area Radio Hall of Fame, barhoff.org.
Well, let's be very straight about this. How do we fix it?
Well, this is a conversation, Mr. Brown, we could have because, I've been nominated before. You know how to do these things.
We gotta win.
What do I know about it?
We can't be nominated. You gotta win.
We gotta talk to whoever hacked into the
Oh.
All-Star voting 2 years ago when Pablo was 100,000 votes behind with 3 days left, and he won by 40,000 votes. So
Okay.
whoever in the South Bay figured that out, we gotta get them on the case
I'm
right
telling
here.
you, all of you YouTube, all of you Facebook, all of you Instagram, all of you people that do things that I don't understand at all. You'd be surprised of how grateful I'll be.
I'm still on MySpace, so
Let's
I'm
quickly
no
look at
help.
November 2014 coming up. Do the Democrats
I
maintain?
didn't know we'd been nominated. Why didn't you tell
No,
me?
just him, not
Bay
you.
Area Radio Hall of
Not
Fame.
you or me.
Not-
No, him.
No, I'm nominated.
Yeah. No, we're not.
Oh, well, now it's off. Now it's entirely off. We withdraw the question, but not a nomination.
I've always been for merit.
After all these years in rock and talk radio, I'm honored to be nominated, and I'm honored to work with Willie Brown and Will Durst doing the Will and
Thank you,
Willie
buddy.
Show.
Thank
We're
you,
doing
buddy.
it
Yeah.
live from the Gold Dust Lounge for over a year now, with My Source TV shooting it.
And Paul, to make sure things work correctly, I'm going
Yes.
to see if I can get myself put on that board of directors. And partner, we'll talk.
Okay.
I bet you can do it.
I want to thank everybody for being here, for our live studio audience at the Gold Dust Lounge, and you for listening and watching to the Will and Willie Show, brought to you by Lefty O'Doul's Drink Mixes, your bartender in a bottle. Thank you very much.